Hi there, Kent Larsen from Smart House Electric. I have brought you here to my home tanning bed here. Uh, a pretty basic unit, but it still has an electronic board and compensation for the induction and all this kind of good stuff that you will find in a more advanced machine. So I'm going to give you some general troubleshooting skills on this machine and to give you an idea that you then can replicate to the machine that you particularly are looking at. So let's look at our ballast tray here, all nicely lined up. And typically how a ballast tray is connected up is that we have from our contactor that we looked at in our previous video, this guy over here, that will open up power to these guys here. There's then serial connected to the lamp in a way that each one of these is dedicated to a lamp and works as an electrical brake. Plus, they also are the ones that ignites the start by giving what's called a inductive kick. And so these can certainly go bad. And let's look at a way to troubleshoot that. And there's one very simple one that's used by most, and that is to simply run the machine for like 5 minutes or so, and then just feel around. If you have a lamp out and you know that it's not the lamp problem, and you just feel around and find the one that's cold, disconnect the power, swap it with another position. Make sure to mark the one that you that was cold, so then you know where it's going. And now swap it with the one that you knew that was working, and now test it and see if your problem moved. So that's a very easy one, but it's not always that this is that simple or easy to do. You might want to try this instead if it's not easy to actually move the ballast or the wires around. And so I brought in another ballast here just so we can look at it without taking anything apart here on the tanning bed. And now we have our gauge again here, and we have put our black in common, and we have put our red here in the area here where it says V and it has the omega sign, which means ohms, because that's what we want to do now. And make sure we're in a range. And for these ballast, it's a relatively low DC resistance, as we're going to be measuring here. So here it's our lowest setting is 200 ohms and down. And so let's turn it on and measure. And so we get about 14. So the accuracy of this measurement is this is a pretty general resistance, 14 ohms for a 100-watt ballast as far as DC, but it can fluctuate, and it's just fine, still just fine. What we're looking for here is if we had straight continuity, like 0, because that means that our coil inside of here have melted into one big clump, and are just leading power straight through here without doing any kind of resistance at all. And the other way is that if it stays in this mode, which means that there is no continuity whatsoever, also means that it's burned, but the wire has disconnected inside of there somehow. So these two measurements, if you're showing full continuity or eternal like no continuity at all, either one of those two will tell you that this ballast is done. Now, sometimes it is just these screws here closest to the ballast that kind of backed out a little bit. This is specifically for 160 waters, have a tendency of doing that. If you tighten them up, make sure that you use, again, you turn off the power before you tighten that little screw. You don't want to be shocked unnecessarily. So this is kind of like a very these ways of doing that is a pretty basic one. There's one by using voltage drop also, but these are very basic and very easy to do. Thank you for watching.